Retirement is a modern concept. As recently as 1900, there was no such thing as retirement. Average life expectancy was around 47, and people essentially worked until they died. Life expectancy today is nearly double that, and spending 20 or 30 years out of the workforce in retirement is quite common. As recently as 1934, when Social Security was established and the retirement age was set at 65, the expectation was that very few people would live to collect, and that those who did collect would only do so for a few years. 2 generations later, American politics is facing the crisis that nearly everyone is expecting to retire and to collect retirement benefits for almost 20 years on average, with an outstanding healthcare system pushing up life expectancy by 3 years per decade. The system is projected to run out of money in our lifetime if no changes are made. So it's not surprising that society as a whole doesn't know how to handle retirement. It's never really been done before. At the same time, corporate pensions are rapidly becoming a thing of the past. Even the largest and most stable companies like IBM are doing away with their pension plans, and plenty of other companies never had a pension plan to start with. The corporate pension system is being replaced by a system in which individuals must take care of themselves. Taking care of yourself isn't a bad thing. It's what America is supposed to be all about. But most people are not prepared to do it because it sort of snuck up on us. America as a whole is saving less than nothing. This is a pretty amazing statistic given the country's obvious affluence, and the truth is that the statistic isn't well understood even by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, who publishes it. But the debt-to-income ratio has been growing for a long time, and many people have simply not been saving for the future. By now, pretty much everyone knows that they should not count on either government help or corporate programs to support them in retirement, and the question is what to do about it. The answer, in a word, is plan. In a few more words, save and invest. We're not concerned with society as a whole here. This is not politics. We're concerned about helping specific individuals, namely you. Everyone's situation is different and needs careful, detailed analysis. This is particularly true because of the complexity of all the rules governing qualified plans and tax-deferred accounts, to say nothing of trusts and closely held businesses and so on. However, it is quite possible to get a very good idea of how much money you need to support yourself in retirement. I have an online spreadsheet you can fill in to do this. It won't be exact, but it will be close. And for many people, it will also be a shock. If you bring up the spreadsheet in another tab or window, we can walk through it together. The first things to enter are the number of years from today until you expect to retire, the years to retirement, during which time you can save money. Then, the number of years of retirement itself, the years in retirement, which is the amount of time you will live off of your investments, at least partially. How much you currently have invested, your current portfolio amount, the rate of inflation, 3% is a good estimate, and then the amount you expect your investments to return every year on average. Then you enter what you expect to need from your investments every year once you retire. Use today's dollar. The spreadsheet will adjust for inflation. First, enter the amount of money that you expect you will spend. Taxes are an expense to be included in this amount. The best place to start is with your current expenses. If you stop earning wages, you won't pay FICA taxes. You may have paid off loans and mortgages, and your kids will probably be independent, which will reduce your expenses. On the other hand, you may be planning to go around the world on a private jet, which will increase your expenses. Whatever. Make your best guess. There are lots of rules of thumb that say you can live off 60 or 80% of your pre-retirement income, but you know your own wants and needs best. And don't forget that later in life, healthcare expenses will go up. Subtracted from that amount will be any outside sources of income. Social Security is inflation adjusted. Most corporate pensions are not. Enter whatever outside sources of income you can reasonably expect during retirement. Given that input, the minimum portfolio size can be calculated. This is the amount of money you need in the bank on the day you retire. There are 4 ways of looking at the amount of money you need. First, you can plan to spend all of your money and have none left over when you die. Philosophically, there's nothing wrong with this approach, but if any of your assumptions are just a little bit optimistic, you'll find yourself with no money before you die, which is not a good plan. Option number 2 is to plan to have the same dollar amount in your portfolio at the end of your retirement as when you start. This is a safer bet than option 1, but inflation will take a toll. So, option 3 is the amount that you need in order to end up with the same amount adjusted for inflation. Now, the problem with the first 3 options is that they just rely on the math of future value calculations, and they rely on your assumptions working out perfectly, which isn't the way life is, particularly over 30 to 50 years. So, option 4 says, how big must my portfolio be to allow me to withdraw 4% every year, adjusted for inflation, and not eat into it? This is the highest hurdle, but it is the one you should be shooting for. I go into the whole subject of retirement withdrawals in another presentation, but this is the punchline. Plenty of studies have been done which look at what happens to an investment portfolio when nothing is going in and an annual withdrawal is being made. If we assume that a good part of the investments are in the stock market, since that's the only way to beat inflation, then there will be times when the portfolio actually shrinks. When the stock market goes down, the amount of money gets smaller, and at the same time you have to withdraw money to live. Put all of that into a simulator, and the answer is that if you have a life expectancy of 30 years, then you really should not plan to withdraw more than 4% a year.